Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Infinite Lagrange tutorial video. Today, at long last, we are going over the Angulum server, or Triangulum server, depending. This is a special server that exists alongside all of the normal Pioneer servers, Trojite, Dawn 2.0, Node, Data, so on and so forth. This special server can only be accessed by purchasing a pass. These passes are sold in the store, which we will see here. You can either pick up the individual pass for 400 Proxima or 160 Dawn points, a team pass for 2000 Proxima and 800 Dawn points. Additionally, you can pick up a trade permit, but more on this later. Now, when you purchase a pass, whether it be the team pass or the individual pass, it starts a 60-day cooldown from which you cannot buy another one. However, just because you cannot buy a new pass does not mean you cannot go to a server. If you are invited by somebody else on a team pass, you can accept regardless of the 60-day cooldown. Now, what is the purpose of the Angulum server? Apologies, by the way, if you can hear the lightning in the background. I am in the middle of a thunderstorm. Now, the Angulum server is where you go in order to try and get blueprint boxes for the new Warspite battleship. These can only be acquired from Angulum and currently nowhere else. But that's not why we're here. Why we are here is because we are after black market tech boxes. The ones that you normally only get from the store for Proxima. 150 if you get the daily box, or 300 if not. In Angulum, you can find up to 30 damaged black market boxes. These boxes do not cost you anything to open. However, you can only access the first 2 items in a row for free. What this means is when you open up a box, you will have 1 or 2 items in the first row, and then a second row, maybe a third, fourth, so on, just like a normal box. The first one that you click on is free, and you can get it for free. Then you can go further down or go to your left or right and pick up something else in that first row, which is almost never the correct choice. So it's very similar to the daily box, but only your first 2 choices are free. After that, it costs 200 Proxima and then continues to go up in price. Because of this, it is usually not worth it to buy any of the rows past the first 2 choices unless you're going to get a super capital tech point, a battlecruiser or carrier tech point, or a blueprint that you want. Now, if offered a blueprint that you already have, it can be beneficial to go ahead and grab that third node for 200 Proxima, because getting 5 research points for 200 Proxima is actually a really good deal. Or getting 5 tech points if it is a cruiser that you already own, or maybe even a destroyer that you already own. For 200 Proxima, that can be worth it. But for anything else, generally speaking, only the first 2 nodes are what we go for. Now that we have discussed what the rewards are, how do you get them? Well, inside of the Angulum server, there are nodes all throughout this map. These nodes hide a secret. Destroyed Sacrum Chu buildings, which you can find by following this dust right here. You find a dust trail, you follow it, eventually you will find ruins, just like this level 4 ruin here. Now, similar to cities on the normal server, these have to be attacked in order to salvage them. You attack these automatic defense platforms, which have varying levels of difficulty, and require siege damage in order to defeat. Once you have defeated one, or actually once you attack one, it starts a 2-hour timer. At the end of that 2-hour timer, whether you have defeated the platform or not, it fully repairs and you would have to start over. If, however, you do defeat the platform in that 2-hour time, any time remaining now is used to loot the platform. Once you have defeated a platform and you go to loot it, you will get a battle report. This battle report will tell you how much rewards are available inside of that turret. Now, I do not have a battle report right now as we just began this run, but I wanted to make sure to share with you from the beginning how to run an Angulum server. Now that we know what the goal is, now that we know where to go and how to get there, let's talk about how do we get out with the rewards. When you're harvesting from these turret nodes, eventually you will get stuff in your cargo hold. It uses up a lot of space in order to fit everything except for boxes in cargo. The junk that you get that just uses up empty space can be turned in for points in the Noma store, which can be eventually used to get this coveted blueprint skin that a lot of people seem to like. Now, I personally don't care about skins, so I don't bother with that, but you might. Once you have landed on one of the nodes, as my fleet here is about to do, you then go ahead and begin chasing down wrecks of NPC fleets. They look like this, with a little triangle symbol. These fleet wrecks contain resources, as you can see here, which can be wrecked ship blueprints, combat microchips, prefab modules, supply chests, more on that in a moment, or UE coins. Now, unlike standard servers, you do not build your base. It comes pre-made with set construction for you. However, you still need resources, and you can't just wait for these tiny amounts per hour that we get. So you have to come out and collect these wrecks. Collect a wreck, and you will get potentially a box. That box can then be turned into your base for resources. To demonstrate this, we're going to go ahead and find a nice wreck, or attempt to. Just like with NPC fleets in normal servers, wrecks have levels. The higher the level, the better the rewards of that wreck. And I'm not seeing any good ones around me. So we're just going to go ahead and go after this level 6. It's not very good, but it still contains some resources, so we'll go for it. Now, the limitations of the Angulum server are that you are only allowed to have 3 operations instead of the normal amount of operations that you would get in a regular server. Additionally, you only get 1 fleet in the Angulum server. You cannot have more than that. This severely limits your ability to both harvest resources and go raid cities in order to get what you need. Excuse me one moment. Unfortunately, I have to sneeze. And I am back. Shifting weather patterns are great, let me tell you. Now, these wrecks, as you can see, move slowly across the map. So how do you get them? Well, you start in one spot, you look at the wreck, click on it, and you'll see a dotted line which will tell you the exact direction that this wreck is going. From there, you can zoom out, and you can kind of guess using the grid, okay, it's here, it's heading this way, my fleet moves at a certain speed, this wreck is moving at another speed, so we need to put it at a point where we can intercept. Now, there are a couple tricks to this. If you're really good, you can put an operation circle on a wreck, click collect, choose your fleet, and your fleet will tell you where it will be when it collects from that wreck. But this isn't entirely accurate. After all, the fleet is moving, or the wreck is moving. Your fleet has to travel quite a distance. I don't think it's going to catch up to the wreck right where it was at. I think instead it's going to catch up to the wreck somewhere further afield. So, you can go ahead and drop down another org operation not connected to this first one, and when you do, your fleet will travel to try and collect that wreck, and wherever it happens to be, now in this particular instance, disclaimer, this one I actually probably will get to while it's right around here, but normally when they're moving much faster, which, here's a good example, this one's moving much faster. Normally if I were to tell my fleet to try and come here to this wreck and get it, I would actually catch up to it somewhere over here. So I drop one org op right on top of it, put another one down somewhere up ahead of it, and when I tell my fleet to chase it down, it will go and chase and chase and chase until the interception point, as long as that interception point is inside one of my org operations. Unfortunately, you do have to use all three of the operations to do that, but once you've collected the salvage, you can go ahead and cancel the other two, and you'll be fine. Now, fleets in Angulum cannot warp outside of specifically coming to these fields to harvest things and going back to your base. Unlike in normal servers, where you can just kind of warp wherever you want, in Angulum you have to specifically find these green circles right here and enter them. When you enter them, it will allow you to warp back to your base, wherever your base happens to be. Additionally, if you want to come out to these fields, when you do, you'll be presented with specific green entrances that you can go to, and only those entrances. Those entrances will be near your star, so you can't just go willy-nilly all the way across to a different star. You gotta pick and choose. So, as we've mentioned, everything here is based on cruise speed, not warp speed. This means big ships like battlecruisers and carriers are really bad at harvesting resources because they move too slowly. You'll never catch up to a fast-moving wreck if you're trying to chase it at 400 speed. To that end, let's go ahead and talk about what you use in Angulum. Now, this is a harvesting fleet. As you will notice, in the middle here is an FSV, a Force Auxiliary. These are provided by the server itself, and in order to send a fleet out, you are required to have a Force Auxiliary in it. You can only have one Force Auxiliary at a time, so you can only have one fleet at a time. The rest of my fleet are your AC-721 Heavy Logistics, AC-721 Heavy Missile, and the aircraft AC-721. The reason for this is, of course, because they have the largest cargo hold. The reason for the aircraft is because in the Angulum, while there are other players, and you sometimes have to fight other players if they are pirates, the real threat are from asteroids. These are asteroid belts. They spawn at a specific location and travel to another location. Sometimes they spawn and their target is you. Your ship, your fleet, wherever it is the moment the asteroid spawns targeting you, that is where it will go. Which means if you just move out of the way, it can't hurt you. But what if you're attacking a city? Or what if you're salvaging a city? Well, you can't really move out of the way then, can you? Well, for salvaging you can, but for attacking you can't. So you'll have to fight the asteroids. Now, to fight the cities, you need siege damage. To fight the asteroids, you need anti-ship damage. Specifically, you need enough damage that you can kill the asteroids in 30 seconds or less. If you do not have that much damage, then all of the remaining asteroids at the end of that 30 seconds will run into your fleet and damage your ships. Asteroids come in three varieties. You have sparse, you have a medium one that I cannot remember off the top of my head. Let's see if I can find one around here to show you. Nope, that's a dense. That's also a dense. Well, maybe I won't be showing you after all. Huh. Well, that's okay. There are sparse, and then there are dense, and there is one more. I think it's scattered is the third one. The dense are the tier 3. They are the strongest and most dangerous of all of the asteroids. If a dense asteroid belt hits your fleet and you do not destroy it, because it has the most health, you can expect to lose a ship. Or several. This includes big ships like carriers and battlecruisers. So making sure that you have enough anti-ship DPM in order to kill a asteroid is paramount. Now, just like with normal ships, or just like with normal fleets, they take anti-ship damage, as you can see here. My fleet did only 6,000 damage to this sparse asteroid belt in the 30 seconds, and so I only killed one of the sparse asteroids. However, when you actually go to siege cities and get resources from those cities, the boxes, chances are good you're going to have a lot more damage on your fleet instead of cargo space, which is what we have here. Alright, so now we have gained some resources. Ooh, we found a level 9. Let's go ahead and get that level 9. So once again, we'll put one right on top of it so that we can try and collect it. The game tells us that the sailing range is too far and we will be unable to catch up to the target in the operation area. Okay, no big deal. So what do? We remove this org operation. We put one down right in front of it. And we put another one down somewhere in front of that. Now let's see what it says. Oh, it's still not in the org op. Well, we're going to use that time to go ahead and straighten up this one because it's not quite a straight line. There we go. Alright. We go to collect here. Now it says that we still will not be able to catch up to it, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and try. I think I'm just too far away for it to properly calculate the traveling distance, which is unfortunate, but that's fine. We will head here. We will miss this one, and instead we will send it to chase after it up ahead. While this is going, I will use this time to go ahead and talk about the base. Now, this is your base. Unlike a normal base, you actually share it with 4 other players. Additionally, as I mentioned, you do not build any facilities, you only build ships. So, the facilities that are here are also shared. The blueprints that you can bring into an Angulum server are limited. You have to pick and install those blueprints into a corresponding hangar. Each of the capital ship hangars can hold 10 blueprints, so 20 total. The super capital can hold 8. The aircraft can hold 12. And the joint shipyard, which works just like a joint shipyard on a normal server, can hold 10 of anything. It is very, very important that you make sure your super capital dockyard is not filled up with useless ships. Additionally, it's also important that you make sure to select only the best aircraft for the job. Don't wind up like my teammate here and put all the possible ships in, including stuff like auxiliary ships that aren't going to do anything good. Now, what ships should you put in? Well, for that, we have to take a look at what we got. Now, this account has very limited selection of ships. But we do have the AC-721, which we've already mentioned is the best for salvaging and gathering loot. We have the Winged Hussar, which can do a small amount of siege damage and a small amount of anti-ship damage, so that's an option. We have the Cass. Now, we only have two types of the Cass, so if we take a look here, it will tell us we have the aircraft and the integrated. The Cass Auxiliary is the best repair ship in the game, and that goes doubly for this server. More on that in the next video when we siege a city. Now, because I have limited blueprints, you might think, I can't possibly take cities and do stuff like that. Well, that's where one of the unique features of the Angulum server comes in. You don't have to own the blueprint in order to use it. If one of my teammates, for example, the magnificent Stepbro Vinity here, installs his blueprints in this shipyard, I can build copies of his ships. However, we share the same limits. So, Spear of Uranus, you can only have 6. If I build 6 of them, he can't build any. And vice versa. But, because you share, it means I don't have to bring in a battlecruiser. I could just bring in a golden frigate, or a golden TC or AC-721, or something to that effect. And they could bring in all their points put in a Spear of Uranus, or something like that. And together we can share ships for our one fleet in order to go out and get resources and boxes. Now, this particular character is here for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to tank those cities. To that end, we're going to go ahead and talk about fleet compositions. What's good? What's bad? What's really bad? Cities have high armor. Asteroids, I believe, also have fairly high armor. They have no energy resistance that I am aware of, so energy damage ships, no matter whether it's high alpha strike or high rate of fire, are really good. However, if you are using ships that do physical damage, such as the Spear of Uranus, then you want the highest possible alpha strike damage. The damage per minute doesn't matter very much if the damage is being reduced by 500 armor. To that end, the Spear is arguably the best battlecruiser, hands down, for this server. When you have enough tech points and modules into it, it becomes the ultimate frontline ship, able to absorb all of the incoming damage from the enemy city, while simultaneously dishing out a lot of siege damage itself. As we already mentioned, the Cass Auxiliary is the best repairing ship in the game, and when paired together, 2 Spear of Uranus or ST-59 if you do not have it, like I do not, and 3 or 4 Cass Auxiliary are effectively immortal. No city guns can possibly kill those ships. Now, as we saw, we failed to collect our resources here, which was to be expected. Let's see if we can't find it. That's because it is all the way over here, and it is moving way too fast. That is not a big deal. We will go ahead and cancel these spots. We will go ahead and put another one right about here. And let's see if it lets us collect it now. Nope, it is too far. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and try and get ahead of it. Since we can't catch up to it here, we'll go ahead and travel ahead of it, and hopefully we, moving 700 plus, are faster than this. I believe we are. I just do not know how fast it is traveling, so it's hard for me to exactly predict. I think I actually might have... Yeah, I didn't put the circle in quite the right spot. But that's alright. We'll catch it eventually. Haven't done this in a minute, so... So, back to my city here. Back to my ships. In addition to your front row, such as the Spear of Uranus and the Cass Auxiliary for repairs, you're also going to need siege damage. The best siege damage ship that you can get, realistically, is going to be the IOC, which is the Siege IO. We will go ahead and just show you an example of it right here. That is because the Siege IO does a lot of siege damage, while also doing a fair amount of anti-ship damage, all for just 18 CP. That makes it quite literally king for doing siege damage. What's more, it also has certain strategies, like this one right here, that can increase your damage even further. I highly recommend that if you have someone in your group that has this ship, that they bring it, they put tech points into it, and that you guys use it for your sieges. The next best ship is actually an aircraft. The Vetus B, or the mighty Beetus. The Vetus B, when fully upgraded, can do several thousand siege damage, but then also, like the IO, do a lot of anti-ship. When using a solar whale in conjunction with the Vetus B, or a CVK if you do not have the whale, you can easily have a single carrier that puts out more than 30,000 siege damage and 50,000 anti-ship damage. That's a lot. Additionally, because it is energy damage, it ignores armor, just like with the IO. That makes it extremely good. Now, what if you don't have a Vetus B or a Siege IO? Well, then we come to the next best ship, the Corvettes. Specifically, the S9 Levy. The S9 Levy may do physical damage, and on paper it may have less siege damage than the Cellular Defender, but in reality it's a lot higher because it has a 1400 base damage hit. That is a lot, and it is enough where when you are hitting the cities, it bypasses a big chunk of the armor, making its actual DPM higher than the DPM of a Cellular Defender. Now, if you don't have that, the Cellular Defender is a good ship. It still does a lot of damage, it still can avoid a lot of damage, and it has really good anti-ship, so if you have to deal with asteroids, it's good for that. Those are my top three when it comes to dealing with asteroids and cities. I'm experimenting with using the T800 Pulsar, because even though it does absolutely abysmal siege damage, it has really decent anti-ship damage, so it makes for a decent filler craft. Also, for fighters, the Harridan's Loyal does a lot of siege damage and anti-ship damage, and it charges up, increasing in damage over time. Highly recommend this alongside the Vetus B for your two fighters of choice. All other fighter aircraft are basically not worth using. The A-21 heavy attack fighter has some potential, and of course the jamming fighters can jam the turrets and make the incoming damage to you less. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Instead, we're going to talk strategy. Now, if you are a relatively new player, how are you going to go ahead and get all of these ships? And how are you going to get all the resources? Well, you probably aren't, to be quite honest. Instead, you're going to be borrowing people's ships, or you're going to have to team up with people. Now, as Angulum is a 5-person mini server that only lasts 5 days, you can either go in solo and team up with 4 random players, or go in as a team. If you go in as a team, one of your team members could play the role of dedicated tank, which is what I am doing. You would give that player 2 of your strongest front row battlecruisers, and if you have them, cast auxiliary in order to repair those battlecruisers. Then, in addition to that, you would give them a large amount of anti-ship DPM. The reason for this is because then your tank ship can go from turret to turret to turret, attacking, soak up all the incoming fire from the turrets, and repair it with the cast auxiliary, and deal with any asteroids that you happen to come across safely. And by safely, of course, I mean you're not going to take any damage from them. Alright, so here we see I'm going for this and it's going to intercept it right here. So I am actually able to intercept it. Oh, and we see an asteroid that was heading for me. A scattered asteroid. But I'm no longer there, so that does not matter. Once you have someone who is going to play the role of tank, now you need damage. That's where the other 4 players come in. The other 4 players can have their fleets be full of ships that only do siege damage and anti-ship damage. No repair ships, maybe 1 tank just in case. I recommend that because if you get attacked by players, it can buy you enough time to hit the retreat button. Even though you will lose a large amount of what you have in your cargo hold if you retreat, you do not lose everything. And sometimes that's the important thing. Now, as mentioned before, having the right composition of ships to do both siege and anti-ship is very important to your success in Angulum. I will be showing off in my next video a siege attempt on a level 7 city, and hopefully you will be able to learn from that just how to go about doing sieges and collecting resources in boxes. Once you have collected salvage, such as I have done here with my other fleet, you'll see in your cargo hold what you gained. From that level 9, we gained a medium resource box. It is an intact box and not a damaged box, which means it contains a lot more resources. We gained 40 ship repair and speed ups, which lets me build my fleet faster, 14,000 UE coins, and a shipwreck blueprint, which doesn't matter, and when we get back to base, we will just scrap this. The UE coins can be used in your base in the Noma store. Give me one moment to look around and see if there are any more reasonably close high level ones. It's level 8. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and try and get in front of it. We'll go ahead and put it right here. And we'll travel there. Okay. You click on the camp center, the Noma trading post, and here you are able to purchase another force auxiliary should you have accidentally lost your first one. You can purchase small supply chests, such as these here. And you can of course purchase prefabs to speed up the construction of your fleet. Now, I have enough coins right now to get these 2 small prefabs. So now I can show you how to, or not prefabs, resource boxes. So now I can show you how to get the resources out of them. You go down to the right hand corner where you have internal affairs. You click on ore refining. You click on small supply chest and you hit confirm. Over the next 10 minutes, it will give you 1/6 of this resource per hour because it takes 10 minutes. So I'll be getting 5,000 crystal, 1,000 deuterium, and 40,000 metal. Not a lot, but that's okay. It was free after all. These boxes, on the other hand, contain 200,000 metal, 24,000 crystal, and 18,000 deuterium. Much better. Large boxes contain even more resources. Let's see if we have one in our history here that I can show you. Pretty sure I had one somewhere. Aha! This was a damaged large box, so it only contained about half or so of the resources that it should have. But it's still 144,000 metal, 18,000 crystal, 13,000 deuterium. Now you know everything you need to know to get started in the Angulum server. You find 5 friends or 4 friends or 4 complete strangers. You buy your passes. You come into the server. You install blueprints in your shared base. Build some initial ships with the free resources that you start with. Go out and salvage fleets to get more boxes and more resources. Build your stronger fleets that are able to attack cities, give them aircraft or other sources of siege damage. Of note, if you use the method where you have one person tank and the other people do siege damage, using frigates such as the Mare Nubium are very viable. Additionally, the artillery cast is very good. The Xenostinger default type is very good, and the type B Taurus is very good. This is all high siege damage for CP cost. And, coincidentally, it's also all energy damage, which again really matters. Once you have gathered 2 or 3 people with enough siege damage, you will go out and you will have to find a city, such as the one that I showed over here, and you will have to begin attacking the automatic defense platforms. Once defeated, it will turn into a wreck, you will click collect, and then however much time was remaining on the cooldown of that turret will become how long you spend salvaging. At the end of your 5 days, or when you are full, you can go ahead and leave the Angulum server. Server lasts 5 days from when you start, but you can leave early, and it will rate your resources that you've got and reward you with points. Additionally, any boxes that you have found will be stored in your warehouse and will be allowed to be taken back with you, or if you bought the trade pass, you can sell them on the market. I generally do not advise doing this, with the exception of if you are trying to buy a specific, or if you specifically get a battleship box, which can be sold on the market to other players for a lot of Proxima, more than completely paying for your trip here. I believe that is all I have for you today. In my next video, we will go over a siege. I will discuss step by step how to put together a siege fleet, how to tank a city, and some do's and don't. So if you like this content, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Especially leave me comments. I read all the comments, and I like to take in feedback on anything I can do to improve my videos and tutorials. This is a hobby of mine, but I do rather enjoy space simulation games, and so I like to put out guides so that other players who might be lost in the sea of information can also enjoy these games. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.